UFC 312 proved that Sean Strickland shouldn't have gotten a title rematch in the first place.
No, that's not an overreaction at all. I think the fact that this was the main event kind of solidified the fact that this was like a terrible card on paper. No disrespect to the DDP, no disrespect to the co-main, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But yeah, Sean Strickland didn't deserve this rematch. He had just won the title, then lost it very quickly. And it was just like, it seemed like he was getting this rematch just because of his personality outside of the cage, more so than what he's done inside the cage. And when you also look at how he goes through these fights, they're not entertaining whatsoever. It's the straight up and down stance. I will give him his credit. His boxing defense is phenomenal, right? His ability to roll and escape these punches is phenomenal. But what he gives back in offense is not inspiring whatsoever.
Not at all.
If you're a fan watching, it's just not. I mean, it's just jabs and teeps. And I love a good jab in MMA, but when you don't put anything behind it, it really just feels like a glorified sparring session in a lot of ways, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, not an overreaction to say that whatsoever. It's
no, and this pretty much, this validated, I think, what I thought going into the fight. Like, we didn't need to see this fight again because, to me, I said last week on the show, as great of a coach as Eric Nixick is at Extreme Couture, and he is a great coach, I went into this fight thinking to myself, yeah, he's going to have a lot of adjustments that he wants Sean Strickland to make. He's probably studied lots of film on the first fight, but is Sean Strickland going to make any of those adjustments? And you could hear the frustration in between rounds in Eric Nixick's voice, right? Like every time they panned him, he was frustrated. I did not think that Strickland was going to, do anything different and reinvent himself and make adjustments that would make this fight exciting or give him any sort of advantage. And it's exactly what we always see from Sean Strickland, man. So, not surprising to you at all, right? Like that's just who he is.
Yeah, it's who he is at this point. And he's not, like you said, he's not going to change. He's not going to make these wholesale changes to his game at this point because that style got him to the title, right? So why would he, in his mind, why would I need to change out my entire game plan? And I don't think necessarily he needs to scrap his entire game plan, but just put together more effective combinations. Like I said, like you never really felt like he was going for it in the fight as the challenger, right? It was all just counter jabs, teep, get away from me for 5 rounds.
Yep.
And then what did DDP do? You know what? He was the one that was charging forward. He was the one that was lunging and overextending, trying to make things happen. As the champion, he was doing all of that, which is kind of crazy because
carried the fight.
Yeah, it's wild. It's kind of wild to me because as a challenger, I've never seen a challenger, I don't think, really just go through the motions like that, like a sparring session, right? He never really put it on the line. He never really went for it. Sure, at the very end, it looked like he was in a war because his nose got all sorts of obliterated. But I saw a fantastic meme. They put the picture of Sean Strickland and then the picture of Dustin Poirier right below it, saying these two wars are not the same, even though they look the exact same in still image. So yeah, it's crazy to me that he didn't go for it whatsoever in this fight.
Yeah, and especially after he complained about he thought he won the first fight, so he had this sense of robbery. You thought maybe that would light a fire under, but I just had a feeling it was going to play out the way that it did, man. And hey, listen, he's got a long road back as far as I'm concerned. He should not fight for a title for a while, if not again. This could be it. It could be the last title fight that Sean Strickland fights. And do you think that's an overreaction?
I do not think that's an overreaction. He would have to go on, I think, at least a 3-fight streak and finish guys, and then depending on what's happening with the title at that point. But yeah, he's got a long road back for sure.
MMA Junkie AI.